This suitcase of materials is, I guess, sort of represents in a way something very important about what the materials library is. It's a whole collection of objects, raw materials, and each one of them tells a story, and each one has, I guess, it's a prototype, it's a revolution in its own right. What the Tate have asked us to do is bring our materials into the gallery and use them as a way of having a conversation with the art. I think we're living in a world where we're distancing ourselves more and more from the physicality of the world, and I think why materials libraries are suddenly becoming something that people are interested in is because it's reintroducing you to all these materials.
There's knowledge about a material that comes from encountering it, not just looking at it. Suddenly your appreciation of the art changes, also your appreciation of the material changes, and you can access the scientific, technical knowledge as well as the artistic knowledge.
We've brought this material into the gallery to introduce it with the Francis Bacon pictures, to get people to consider the malleability of stuff, and in this case the silly putty. So in the paintings, Bacon is actually looking at the metamorphosis of skin and flesh, but this of course is a non-Newtonian material, non-Newtonian fluid, and you can manipulate it and you can squash it. So as you can see, it's very brittle if you pull it quickly, but if you actually stretch it, it starts to run like a fluid.
So I've set up near Fontana's Nature, which is a wonderful piece of sculpture, but in order to preserve its wonderfulness, people are not encouraged to touch it. In fact, they're sort of deterred from touching it. So what we're trying to do here is allow them to touch the same material, because that tactile interface with materials is a really important part of experiencing the world.
I'm inflating this helium balloon next to Jeff Koons's cerebral equilibrium tank in an attempt to demonstrate how one generates neutral buoyancy. So the basketballs in this work are actually suspended, I mean they're floating in this tank, and they're neutrally buoyant, which means they're either rising or falling. And we're going to try and generate neutral buoyancy with this helium balloon by attaching some blue tack weights to the bottom of it so that the balloon will just hover in space, is the idea.
Well, if I give you this and ask you to hold it and manipulate it and look at the work, you tell me kind of what kind of connections you make.
Well, as you squeeze it, you can see that the form is changing, and it represents exactly what you're seeing now. Imagine a little sculpture of a head there. I squeeze it in my hand and I release it.
So do you feel that you're kind of making decisions that perhaps the artist is making, or you're better understanding it?
His mental processes are becoming physical in my hand.
Yeah, this is the same state as this. This is total equilibrium. You'll have the balloon. That's it. So actually the Tates, they have to come back and they have to top this tank up with more liquid because it evaporates, and then the balls move, so sometimes they're completely in line, but at other times the distribution of liquids will shift and they'll move around the tank in the same way that the air in this room will make the balloon move around the room.
So do you think you can identify that material that's made of on the table? This is the question. So why is it that one? Actually, but he was wrong, is he? No, he's right. That is. So it's bronze, yeah.
Bronze. And that's bronze.
That's bronze. So why does this? And the other thing is then when you hold it in your hand, this seems a very metallic, inanimate sort of machine kind of material, and yet the artist has managed to bring in a real organic quality to that. And how does he do that? I mean, how does that happen?
So if you think about this in relation to some of the works in this room, you can see that all of these works are manipulating the body, manipulating flesh.
I mean, I often pick up on this kind of greenish, bluish colour you get from bronze. It's very beautiful. You
yeah,
can kind of
it's
see
like it has nature on it.
Yeah.
Like, herbs, I don't know.
It seems to have a connection with the living world, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So do you want to come up, guys? Do you want to come and have a prod?